Hey guys, it is Arianne and Amber from Double A. Excuse. Oh, oh. Excuse. Amber having to squint because she's not wearing her glasses at the moment, so she can't see anything. And I don't know if she's frozen. She was frozen. She was frozen. So
So I
wait.
can't even see anybody.
There we go.
Okay, can you see me?
No. Yeah. So I was telling them to excuse you squinting because you don't have your glasses on.
Oh yeah. Like what I was saying when I was frozen is I'm having technical difficulties, so I can't stream from my computer like I normally do. So I'm streaming from my phone. So I may still freeze from time to time because it's me. Life wouldn't be my life if it wasn't screwed up.
So, well, thankfully, this murder case is not as long, I guess you could say. It's mainly his arrest and trial um, that makes the headlines. So, I'm talking about Mr. Paul Charles Denyer. Hello, good evening.
Hi, Brian. I'm squinting to
So,
see you.
um, Paul Denyer actually considers himself trans now. He wants to go by the name of Paula, but
Male to
one
female trans. Okay.
he hasn't gotten his um surgery, nor do I believe am I gonna call him a she
Top or
because of
bottom or neither.
neither.
Neither
Neither
top or bottom. Not
neither.
on testosterone shots or anything, or not,
He
or
he
estrogen
wanted
shots. I'm sorry.
wanted surgery, and we'll talk about that later. He wanted surgery, but it got denied.
Mm.
Um,
Okay.
but I will not be calling him a she only because of his crimes. I'm not fixing to give you that
And
honor.
plus, there's no actual transition. It's just
Yeah, there's
a
none.
desire to
And
be.
yeah.
Okay.
So he was born Paul Charles Denyer. He was born in Sydney on April 14th, 1972. Um, he was actually the third of six children. There were five boys and a girl. So his family was working class. He was known to apparently when he was a baby, he rolled off of a bench and knocked his head um pretty hard. So according to his family, anything that he does, um there she goes. You were going in and out again. So according
I heard you up. I was hearing your audio the whole time.
Oh, okay. So
Mhm.
according to his family, that was actually like a big joke um for the entire family that he rolled over when he was a baby and knocked his head. So anytime he did anything out of the ordinary, people
They
would
blamed
just
it on
make the
that.
comments along the line of, well, that's because you fell and bumped your head when you were a baby.
I mean, but honestly, he could have knocked a few screws loose.
Oh
In lack of
yeah,
better terms.
yeah.
Honestly, yeah.
It gets worse.
Okay.
So around by the age of 10, because there's not a lot of information on this guy. Um, we know that he again is the third of six children. He bumped his head when he was a baby. He had trouble mixing in with other kids when he was in kindergarten, but eventually got out of that and became quote unquote normal until
So
his
like he
family
was
moved.
withdrawn.
Like he wasn't withdrawn, he was just very shy and very quiet.
Mm.
So he didn't
Lack
make
of
a lot
social
of
skills.
yeah, he didn't make a lot of friends, but he actually grew out of that and became social and became quote unquote normal. When by the time he reached primary school, but then that changed again when the family had to move because of the dad's job. And then the kids wanted to like leave their friends, just like normal.
What
Um,
was the dad's job?
the dad was working. He took up a position as manager of the steak place. It literally says the steak place. So I'm guessing in a restaurant.
Interesting. For those that are watching, I am coloring in the background. This is what I do when we record our podcast and you don't see us. We just do normal things like I color or crochet or draw, and she looks at me weird. I'm recording, guys. Be respectful. Kids, you know. So you actually get to see what we do behind the scenes.
Right.
So so this is it. This is
So
life.
that basically like his childhood. Oh, except for around the age of 10, he took his sister's teddy bear and slit its head. And then took the family's kitten.
Wait a minute. Slit the teddy bear's head? The teddy
Yeah,
bear. The
like
teddy bear's
cut
head?
its head. And
Typically, boys
then
at that age hump on the little teddy bears.
at the age of 10, they hump teddy bears at that age?
Well, they hump whenever they realize that their penis works. I have five
Um,
brothers and two sons.
oh
Well, my
God.
sons, I haven't, I
I
haven't caught
honestly
my,
don't
yeah, I
know.
haven't caught my sons humping, but I've seen one of them play around. But
Okay,
boys play with their thing.
yeah,
I'm just
no.
saying that's a different from slitting the thing from the slitting the
Yeah, he
throat.
literally took his only sister, because there's five brothers, or five
Yeah,
of the boys, and then one sister. So literally took the sister's teddy bear and cut off its head. And then
at 10.
took the family's kitten, killed it, and hung it on a tree.
So that right there shows you that the start of the serial killer, slitting the throat of the teddy bear, you know, messing around with
Yeah.
the animals, killing the animals. So he's just showing you all typical signs. He was withdrawn and not normal, whatever normal is to society, because normal is not even
So
a
that
justification.
wasn't actually like that was his first time. And then anytime after that, he got into like dissecting animals, whether
That, yeah, she was super
I
uncomfortable.
really am uncomfortable, okay? I don't need to know what my nephews do.
I'm a very people that listen to the podcast know I'm a very blunt person and I say whatever's in my head. If you know me in person, you know nothing changes when I get on camera. So be prepared for whatever.
I just don't want to know what my nephews do. So let's just stick to this person,
But I
shall
mean,
we?
it's just being
No,
real. It's
no,
weird that I'm just
let's
saying
just
that's
stick
not
to
a
this.
typical behavior of a young
No,
little boy.
no, let's just stick to this person. Okay? So
Just
he
saying.
started dissecting animals, whether it's a cat or a dog, mainly cats, it seemed like. Started dissecting them. Okay. Um, it doesn't
Did he
tell
keep them
us.
as trophies?
He doesn't keep them as trophies. He just dissects
Okay.
them. He just wants to see, like, you know, I guess the inside.
Because some of the younger serial killers, if you don't know, when they do their dissections or the mutilation of these poor little animals, that they do keep certain things
Yeah, they
as
do keep.
trophy.
Yeah, but this guy didn't.
Okay.
So he actually, like his family started noticing the change, but didn't do anything about it. Of course, they just like again blamed it on him knocking his head when he was a baby, and that
My
it'll
God.
all go away when he gets older.
You mutilated that cat because you fell and knocked your head. What kind of sense does that make?
So it also did not help that as he was going through school, he ended up being either the tallest kid, the fattest kid, just like out of, the ordinary. So he got made fun of quite a bit for his size. And then, so later on in life, when he was working, it seemed like he was working in some kind of like farm, when in his late teenage years. He allegedly, this is just alleged, there's no confirmation, but he apparently slaughtered and dismembered two goats.
I mean, that's not untypical for somebody working on a farm. But for this guy, it fits the MO of a serial killer.
Yeah, it's well. So let's start. Because apparently, again, his family didn't do anything about it, but now psychiatrists think since he had early signs of this,
Mm.
um, they think that if the parents actually did something at an early age, they think that this could have been prevented. It wouldn't have been 100% guarantee that it would have been
But just a
prevented,
thought.
but
Yeah.
at least it would, some measures would have been taken to try to,
So was psychologist analyzing the case after everything, or
yeah,
did he
after
seek
he got
therapy
arrested.
during?
No,
Mhm.
after he got
Okay.
arrested. So, the first murder was of a girl named Elizabeth Stevens. She was 18 and was found on June 12th, 1993 in Lloyd Park near Frankston, Australia. Um, it, Apparently, she had been staying with her aunt and uncle, and was reported missing by the aunt and uncle the night before she got found. So on June 11th, the night of June 11th, 1993, her aunt and uncle called and said that she was missing. When they have found her, they seen her throat had been cut, and there were 6 stab wounds to her chest. And then there were 4 cuts that ran from her breast to her navel, and then there were 4 more running across her abdomen, creating a crisscross pattern. There were several cuts and grazes on her face, and her nose was broken. Her top part, the clothes on her upper body had been removed. Her bra was pushed up around her neck, and then, despite initial autopsy thinking that just by the look of it that she may have been raped, there was no signs of her being sexually assaulted.
You know, the first initial thing that came to my head when you described the stab, it just sounded like he was playing tic tac toe, got pissed off that he lost, and decided to beat her up.
Probably.
That's what it sounded like.
Probably. So
I mean, I don't know how demented
here
he is, but
so he murdered he had 3 victims um between this is a very short period of time, between June and July of 1993. So within a month, it was 3 victims.
that is super short for a serial killer.
Exactly. So
No cool
now,
off period.
here's the thing. There were supposed assaults that he did previously that he never got in trouble for,
Domestic or sexual.
sexual.
Okay.
But they weren't murdered, and then they didn't really have any proof that he actually did those things, so he never got taken in for it. So these 3 are the only confirmed murders that he had.
Like, there was no sketch artist, nobody that could, no, nothing
So we don't
identifying.
know. There's no other information really on the um assaults that he did, but it doesn't seem a lot. I think there was like maybe 1 or 2 that I read, and from what I know, they didn't press charges on him. So I don't know.
Well, so if the corpse wasn't sexually assaulted, can we say that he was sexually motivated to, or like, can we
So
really say that he was sexually assaulting these women prior?
okay, well, here's the thing. We'll get to that when he gets to his arrest. Because,
Oh
like I said,
God.
his arrest is what is kind of like, okay.
Okay, proceed.
So, like, his murders are really short. So, the second
Yeah,
murder
that's
was,
weird.
huh?
I said that is weird. That's like the weirdest MO
It's
for a
just a
serial
month.
killer.
Yeah,
There's
it's
no
just a
cool
month.
off period. There's not, like, that's really weird.
So, second one's Debbie Freem. who was 22. She went missing on July 8th, 1993. She had driven from a local store to buy some milk, it says, and then her body was found 4 days later near Caram Downs,
Spell
and
it.
she had been stabbed 24 times in the head, neck, arms, and chest. She had been strangled, again, not sexually assaulted.
But what's up with the overkill?
We'll get to that.
Oh my god. Okay.
Wait. Next one, the last victim was on July 30th. Her name was Natalie Russell. She disappeared while riding her bicycle home from John Paul College. Now, all these places are actually really close proximity to each other. They have
Of
no
course.
relations to each other at all. They just happen to be at the wrong place at the wrong time, and they just happen to be female. Her body was
Okay.
found near the bushes near a bicycle track, and her throat had been cut. She had numerous stab wounds again to her neck and face, and then again, no sexual assault in it.
All every single woman, the way they've been mutilated, it's like he's projecting how he feels about himself or what he sees about himself onto these women. So
Basically,
he's
yeah.
just, yeah, it's just like he's feeling like closed off or he doesn't feel worthy or something about his image, something within. So I wonder what happened in his life leading up
You're
to
getting
the.
super close.
I'm telling you, I'm good with this,
Like
but I
there's not a lot on his background, on his family background, except for the fact that he got hit in his head and then he started this murder. Like there was
something
no
happened.
information on how his parents treated him. From what it looked like, they were from a working class family. They tried their best to provide, but there's no other indications of them
What
being
what I'm
negligent.
gathering with the lack of past familial information is something happened to him, probably a family member or a babysitter or a friend or something happened to him sexually. He underwent some kind of abuse, sexual, physical, and that's when he started with the teddy bear's neck and then the mutilation of the animals and thus progressing. He never sought therapy because everybody wrote it off as, oh, you fell and hit your head, and it just kind of seemed like no one really cared
Right,
about him on the inside. So he lashed out, of course, doing these unnatural things that we don't deem as normal.
right.
So something tragic happened to him and he buried it deep within inside of him and then until he
Yeah,
couldn't
sadly
hold it
we
in
don't
anymore.
know. Sadly we
Yeah.
don't know, and I don't think he'll ever tell.
Of course not. Like it had to have been really deep. We're by no means justifying his actions. We're just breaking down the killer here on what we think. Apparently, I'm close to what it is. So proceed.
So on his when he got arrested, the police officer just happened to see a yellow Toyota, which was supposedly what witnesses said they seen um, when Natalie Russell had disappeared. So they seen the yellow Toyota near the bicycle track where the body was found at the time of her murder, and had written down the registration number. When they put the number in the system, of course, the same car had been seen in the same vicinity where Freeman's body was found, and um, there had also been a report of a postman of seeing a man slumped down in the same car as like he was trying to hide. Like he was trying to hide in the car, like he was bent over, slumped, like to the seat, trying to hide. So the registration, of course, came back to Paul. And when detectives went to talk to him, he wasn't home. They left a card asking him to call like normal. And then instead, they received a call from someone else asking why the police wanted Paul to call. Of course, they explained the routine, or they explained it was just a question that they had about his vehicle, and they were interviewing everyone in the area. And then within 10 minutes of the call, something was not sitting right with the detective, so they went over to Paul's house again.
Wait, was he living alone or with his family?
He was living alone.
Okay.
So Paul then opened the door when the detective knocks and invited the officers in like nothing has happened. And then while he was telling them where he was at the time of each murder, it was noticed that he had a lot of cuts on his hands. And then when the police asked, or the detectives asked to explain why, the reason why he's got all those cuts, he claimed that he had gotten his hands caught in an engine fan while working on a car. And then,
Mechanics out there know that doesn't make sense, but okay.
exactly. So suspecting that they had the guy that did these two murders, they actually took Paul back into the station for more questions. They ended up interrogating Denier, which is Paul, um, early in the early morning, the next morning, and he denied any responsibility for Russell's and Freem's body. They don't know anything about Stevens at this point.
Oh,
So
interesting.
they only know that the cars just happened to be around Freem's and Russell's murders.
Their scenes, okay.
So he just kept on denying it. And then they asked for a DNA sample. He asked how long it would take to get the DNA results back and if they had evidence to compare to his DNA. And then he sat quietly
Okay,
for
he
a
just
bit
gave it
before
away.
declaring that he was actually the man that killed the two people plus Elizabeth Stevens. Mind you,
Oh
they
god.
didn't know anything about Stevens at this point.
He just kept implicating himself. Like
Yeah.
vomit. And just going down a macrocosm of I did it, I did it, I did it.
So
He
yeah,
must have felt like he was in the hot seat. Like he must have felt it. Like they're
I don't
gonna
think I don't think he I don't think he cared. At this
interesting.
point, I really don't think that he cared.
I mean, why do you feel like that?
Because I can assume from his because he was very sarcastic. It didn't seem that he was normal when he was doing like it has a little snippet, like very little snippet of his like when the police had asked him why, like to explain his victims, and he just seemed cold about it. Like he was nonchalant, just
But then why would he be slumped in the car if
he
he
was
didn't like
probably
what?
he was probably trying to hide from actual witnesses, but maybe he was trying to like see if he can commit more murders. But at this point, when he got caught, he was just like, "Well, screw it!
I
Like I
mean,
don't care
that
anymore."
doesn't line up with me though. The hiding in the car. I mean, that's like it's if I mean, it just sounds like he has split personality. That
Unless he
doesn't
was
sound
doing
right.
something.
I mean, he could have been jacking off. It could have just got him sexually motivated to pleasure himself because that is typical of serial killers to get off on murders. I mean, I don't think that, if he didn't care enough and he was sarcastic and he just implemented himself like that and gave himself away, I don't think that he would really want to hide. I don't think he would care enough to hide. Like, you would have to care in the way that he sounded. Like, he lost that. Like, he had no feelings.
Right.
Think about his childhood. Like, I just don't it just doesn't fit. It doesn't make sense that he would want to hide but then implicate himself.
I don't know. It doesn't say.
Unless it's a split personality type of thing. I don't know,
He
guys. What
was
do you think?
on this whole entire thing. He just seemed very nonchalant, like he didn't care.
Which is why it doesn't make sense that he would be hiding. There's something about that
Now,
car scene.
that was just a so-called witness, and we all know witnesses
Eyewitness
can,
reports can be
yeah,
thrown out the
like they
window.
could, he could be looking slumped over, but it could be a whole different thing
Typically, when you hear the word
entirely.
slumped over,
Maybe
it's in
he was
regards to
sleeping in
death.
the car, like
I
over
mean,
the wheel.
maybe like staking out his victim, taking a nap. I don't know. That isn't. I mean, the car thing just that throws it off a little bit. But I'm just more interested in why he implicated himself so fast. That's a really fast, like everything he did was super escalated.
So a clinical psychologist actually explained to the court. So he went ahead and claimed guilty, pleaded guilty to all charges. Now, again, mind you, the cops only knew of Frame's and Russell's body, and the yellow Toyota, which was Paul's, was found in both places. They did not know anything about Stevens. They assumed that it may have been the same person because of the cuts and stuff, but there was no actual evidence on, there was no witnesses, there was no like other evidence left at the scene. So he actually pleaded guilty to her murders as well. So a clinical psychologist went to the court and actually explained that Paul was a sadist who found pleasure in killing women. So here's what here's the a little bit of the transcript that I could get. So the police had asked, "Can you explain why we have women victims?" And Paul had answered back, said, "I just hate them." And the police said, "I beg your pardon?" And Paul said, "I hate them." And police said, "Those particular girls or women in general?" He said, "Women in general." So he also, quote unquote, when he got asked why he had killed Elizabeth Stevens, which is his very first, supposedly very first murder, he said, "I just wanted to kill, just wanted to take a life because I felt my life had been taken many times."
Hmm.
So the oh gosh. So he was sentenced to 3 life sentences and then an extra 8 years for abduction. Initially, he was denied the possibility of parole and was expected to spend the rest of his life in prison. However, he appealed on July 20th, 1994 to the Supreme Court of Victoria and was granted a 30-year non-parole period. And although he's unlikely to ever get the parole, there is a what is it? There's a probability of him just serving the 30 years.
Okay. Wheels are just going as you're talking.
So now, mind you, that 30 years is almost up. They got arrested in July 1993.
My kids are banging on the door. Uno momento, por favor. Uno momento.
So while we wait on her, we'll just go ahead and finish this up here. So he actually, Paul also applied for a request for gender reassignment surgery. This makes me laugh. I'm sorry. And he was determined to be deemed unsuitable for such surgery. I don't know why. So there was only like 2 pictures of him really online. You guys can look it up if you want to. Um, he looks like he's got long hair now. He wants to. Oh, he also got denied wanting to wear makeup. So that's, there we go. There she is, or trying to get back. but he got denied access to makeup as well. Um, so he actually had to be set in a cell by himself, or in a, how do you say it, he had to be separated from the rest of the,
Solitary confinement.
yeah, so he had to be separated from the rest of the group. um but yeah, so he got denied surgery, denied access to makeup, and yeah, he just got denied everything. But like I said, he may be out soon, because his 30 years is almost
So I wanted to, before I was interrupted, the wheels were going off and I had a lot of thoughts in my head. Let me get my angles right. I can't really see now. Ooh, that's good for blind people. Okay, so I was thinking, the the line where he said like he hated women and he wanted to take a life because he felt like his life was taken. It made me think, um, if the father was the primary breadwinner and he was, you know, uh, typically, gone, if he was left with his mother, maybe his mother physically and sexually abused him. Maybe it was his sister, which is why he um, cut the teddy bear's head. And, you know, it was definitely a woman that affected him. Now, what I don't understand is why he wanted to become transgender. That didn't make sense if he
Yeah,
didn't
that's
like
that's
women.
what that's what's confusing, because he hated women. He was known to hate women anyways,
Yeah,
but he wanted to be one.
that didn't make any sense to me. But what made sense to me is why he was targeting the women. And I just don't feel like he was sexually assaulting these women. I think he in the murders it made it look like it, but I think that those
No, yeah, none of the actual murders was sexually assaulted. Like, none of them were found to be sexually assaulted or raped. It's just his previous times, supposedly he sexually assaulted a couple women, but he was never implicated. Is that the word? And she's frozen. And she's gone again. And she's back.
can you hear me? Okay. I, yes, it doesn't make sense that he was accused of the sexual assault, but none of the murders actually involved
Yeah,
sexual
that's why
assault.
I don't think he actually did the sexual assault. Because then
There's no
they,
way he
they would
did.
have they would have had him arrested for them.
There's
Because
no
the
way
women are
he
still
did that.
alive.
With everything that we know about the suspect, his modus, he's not into sexual assault now.
He's not into
I
the sexual pleasure of women.
at all, but. So the only way I can see him as being a sadist, not a sexual sadist, but like the act of the murdering, it gave him that relief and maybe let off those endorphins that we feel like when we feel the love drug, when we feel like we're in love or when we eat chocolate. Like he felt those things release, so he felt like it was, maybe he became addicted to that feeling. And I feel like it escalated so quickly because it just all hit him at once, like his whole life. I mean, that happens when you're experiencing trauma and you suppress it for so long. One day it just hits you in the face and you realize, hot damn, I just went through all this shit. And then
Hmm.
you just break down. And some people can handle that breakdown, some people can't. And I think that the breakdown really broke him. And he just, that was his way of dealing with what he went through. Now, what he actually went through, we don't know, but it's very obvious that he went through something traumatic. But we just don't know exactly what, and I don't think we ever will. But
Mm-mm.
whatever he went through,
Sadly, there's not a lot on his background. That's the really bad
yeah,
part. There's not a
and there
lot on
should
his
be.
background at all.
Is his parents alive or any of his
It
siblings?
doesn't say, like I said, it doesn't, his background is like almost non-existent. We just know that he came from a working class family and that he was from the third oldest out of six kids. So
I really
there's
feel like he was.
no notice if this family is still alive. I'm pretty
I really
sure
feel
his
like he was
siblings
physically
are.
abused. Yeah, I'm sure, but I mean,
So
I'm
then
sure we can find
one
something
of
on
the
Facebook.
one of the assaults, or so-called assaults, it wasn't a sexual assault. But the woman figured if she didn't fight so hard for her life, she would have died, because this happened the night of Debbie Freeman's death. So it's this lady named Ross, hmm, Rosa, Roszza, Rosa,
Rosa,
Rosa Toth. So she was
Rosa,
actually making her way home. She is a 41-year-old bank clerk, and she was on her way home from work, and she was violently attacked behind by a man she claimed had a gun and tried to drag her to a nearby nature reserve. So she had put up a fight, like a major fight. He actually pulled out clumps of her hair, and she bit his fingers to the bone on several occasions. And um
she has some chompers.
she kept on fighting.
She,
Um
okay.
she ended up, like, her shoes ended up being thrown off, thankfully. So she managed to, like, run super fast, and held down a car, and he supposedly fled the scene. And that same evening is when oh, sorry, I skipped a thing. So she ended up calling the police. The police went over to the location, searched around the location, searched around the proximity, didn't find anything. And then apparently later that same evening, that's when Debbie Freem had went missing. And of course, we all know 4 days later her body was found. So Mrs. Toth has this um fighting spirit in her. And honestly,
So she
like
went
she
down to the
said,
bone.
if she didn't fight, he would have made four murders.
But she could she, was
Or
it
either
then
that
that she
or
was able to
Elizabeth,
identify him?
huh?
Was that then that she was able to identify him? Like, how did he get
No, no, no,
identified?
no. That's what she said. She couldn't identify because he came from behind. She was like, this was happening at night.
So the face stayed behind her the whole time.
Yeah,
So
and
when
she
the
was
hand came around.
yeah, and she was biting tooth and nail, and then she held a grabbed a car, or flagged someone down. And when she called the police went to that location, looked around that proximity, didn't see anything but her shoes. And
That's
they didn't
weird. I
find any
mean,
suspicious. But here's the thing. Now, I retract what I said, stating that he may have made four murders, because I believe that since she had gotten away, he wasn't satisfied, so he went after Debbie Freem, because the store was nearby where Mrs. Toth had gotten
I mean, yeah,
was
that could piss him off. I
trying
can
to
see that.
get abducted. So
It was
Mrs.
trying to get abducted.
Well, she was getting she yeah, he was trying to get
Reword that.
he was trying to abduct her.
There you go. You got to think about your words because
Sorry,
no
I
victim.
wasn't thinking straight. So that was the same night that Debbie Freem had gotten away, and supposedly Debbie was picking up milk because she had just given birth 12 days prior.
Ooh, wow. She was already like she had just given birth. She wasn't like fully up to her strength yet. I don't see her being able to
To
pull
fight.
that
Yeah.
extra. Yeah, to get the extra adrenaline to fight them off. I don't see that because unless she just went through something traumatic herself.
Yeah.
Wow. Mm. This guy's a weird one. It's different. I don't see why. I'm still stuck on why would he want to be transgender if he didn't?
If he doesn't like women,
Do you think being
he doesn't
transgender
like
would
women,
he could
period.
make? I mean, I'm wondering like in his head, does he think becoming a woman like he could show women how to be women? Possibly.
Maybe. Or, I don't know,
It
because
just doesn't make sense.
it
It's weird.
kind of sounds like I wouldn't say he's jealous, but I kind of feel like he was jealous of women. Like, at the same time, though,
Mm.
he was awkward in school. Like, he was taller, he was, you know, bigger than all the other kids. So I feel like with him getting bullied, like he wasn't able to even kids nowadays aren't able to come out fully as themselves, and he wasn't sure like what he was feeling, and he was just getting upset because there was no way that he could have told his family, because by the sound of just him doing something abnormal and they blame it on him
They just write it
getting knocked
off.
in
Like
the head. Like,
obviously his parents
I don't
doesn't
think he was
care.
really close to his family.
I don't either. But I don't think he's jealous of women. I don't think he's jealous of women at all. I think he has pure hatred for women because a woman did something to him. And I really want to get to the bottom of why he felt like his life was taken so many times. That to me just sounds like rape and molestation. Not even just beating them. That sounds like rape and molestation. That's something that victims of sexual abuse have said, and I can attest to that. Like that's common. So who did it? I really feel like the target is. I feel like it's his mother,
Yeah, and there's nothing on his mother. There's
and that
absolutely
is.
nothing on his mother, and there's nothing
See,
there.
that's
The
what sucks
only
about these investigations because we can't go deeper if they don't go deeper. We can't find anything that they don't put out there, and these what should have been done, like when these certain keywords and phrases were put out there, these family members need to be thoroughly investigated so we can understand more. The therapist should have invited the family into a session. We should have got a look inside of the brain of the parents. We need to
the sad part is
understand.
they might have. Now, mind you, this is in Australia, so they may
Well,
have
I mean,
completely different laws when it comes to.
those case files could be locked and
Yeah,
not being
it could
able
be
to be used as
anything
a subpoena.
anything that his psychologist, like, there's hardly anything that I can find. I know
But
that a psychologist spoke to him. That's the only
there,
thing. And
there. I know here in the States you can subpoena records like that. I worked in a medical office for many, many years, and maybe once or twice we've gotten a subpoena for somebody's medical records, and in that case we have to give them over. Other than that, we are bound by HIPAA. We do not give out any information, but in a subpoena we have to. So unless they felt it was necessary to subpoena those records, then those could be locked forever. But I
we
just,
know that he got taught. We know that a psychologist has talked to him. Psychologist has
yeah.
talked to him. It's just
But we need to go
there's
deeper
no
besides him. We got to go outside of him because a, a serial killer does not just develop overnight. A serial
no,
killer is
but we don't
molded
have any other
into,
information outside of that.
yeah,
That's
which
There's
kind of
none.
sucks. It sucks because in the investigation, they should have made us privy to what was going on in his pre-adult life. We need to know more than he was just an awkward student. That's everybody who wasn't an awkward student.
I
I know I
think
was awkward as hell. I was a fucking biracial emo goth girl that wore ties and listened to pop music and rock music. Like we were
I
all
think
awkward.
I honestly think that after he had pleaded guilty, the police like rubbed their hands off of it. Because it's only three murders, mind you, it's only three murders that happened only once. It was not fresh. They did not have to go look back onto years and years of things. He pleaded guilty. They were like, okay, we got it all down. We've got all the evidence that we need. The psychologist came in to talk to him. That's when the psychologist told the courts that's the only record is that he was a sadist and has a hatred for women.
But she
And
didn't
I
explain
think
why she
after
felt like he
that,
was a sadist.
that's what I'm saying. After that, the police had nothing else to do with him. He was now left in the hands of these psychologists. There's nothing else. Now he could have went on and talked about his family and went on and talked about what exactly happened. But after that, after the courts, after that one little
So
snippet,
how do we adequately profile someone that we know so little about?
except for knowing the fact that he murdered the cats and
Yeah, I
murdered
mean,
animals.
he's got all the typical signs of a serial killer, but what we're missing is the why. So how do we profile someone when we are not privy to
Because
the detailed information?
the psychologist only gives out is what they want to. They're not going to give out the full on information. That's the sad part.
That sucks. So on this case, we can't really go into depth on why he did what he did. We just our opinions are just
There's
as
still a
is.
lot of questions.
There's a lot of
It
questions.
honestly does not make sense. Why do you have a hatred for women,
No,
but yet you request to get surgery.
and
Two,
makeup.
you're really wanting some makeup to look, and then he's got his hair grown like a woman.
I mean, it really does sound like not borderline personality disorder, but full on personality disorder. It seems like he's two people at once too. Like so, I feel like the personality disorder and then like split personality on top of personality disorder, and then I'm just trying to figure out the sadism there. I'm not understanding where it's coming from and why she feels like that, but I definitely can understand
Probably pulled
why
it
he
from
wants to
his
go.
background.
Yeah, I mean, that's what happens when you just give out words without actually indicating the why. We need to know the why, not just the words. Break down the why you're saying this, so we can profile this person and understand the case
That's
better.
why I feel like the courts didn't really care because
No.
as soon as he pleaded guilty to him, admitted to him, showed evidence that he did them. I mean, after
It
that
makes no
part,
sense.
they
This
just
case,
gave
it
up.
literally doesn't make any sense. It's just, and it was so quick. It escalated so quick. What happened? What triggered the escalation? Like, boom, we killed all these people. There was so much rage and overkill, and then
So
and then when he
supposedly he
talked to the
was.
detectives, he's so quick to implicate himself. Like
So
something's not right. This doesn't make
here's the
sense.
big gap. Okay, so he was not he in kindergarten. We know that he was very shy and very and not like all the other children that want to make friends with everybody. Okay.
Hmm.
But then once he reached primary school, he quote unquote became normal. He was talking, he had friends, he enjoyed going to school. He, was very active in participating like with his peers. It was from when his family had to move, so all the kids supposedly were against the move, but the dad had to move because it's a job and it paid better, and he needed to provide for six kids, himself and a wife. So I guess in his eyes, he had to do what he had to do. So
Makes
after
sense.
that move, he became back to being shy from what I'm reading. He went back to not, making friends because, like I said, he was taller, he was bigger boned, or supposedly fatter than
I was gonna
all
say
the
your
other
bones aren't
kids.
bigger; it's your meat.
Well, so supposedly that's what was
So
going
the
on.
move triggered. What in the move
It could have
triggered?
been the change of peers. We don't know. So that's the big gap from the time that when they moved. What happened then? Like, except for the fact that he got bullied. He's got four other brothers, and one sister. He's got five other siblings. He's the third oldest.
Hmm. You know how I like when you tell me your cases. I tell you how I feel, and then I always twist it and say what if and play the opposite side. So here is the time that I do the what if. What if one of his brothers or multiple guys in the family, what if they were molesting him, beating him and everything, but babied the sister and like favored the sister and put the sister up on a pedestal? Like most only daughters, they get spoiled a lot. So what if he was getting abused, or maybe like if she did something wrong, he took the blame, the fall for it, and maybe got punished for it, and she didn't? So that could turn into the hatred for the woman. And what are you just saying? What if it was like that, or what if the dad would beat him or molest him or whatever? I feel like he was molested. I really feel like he was molested or raped. But what if physical abuse came from him picking up the slack, for lack of
Right.
better words, from his sister, or something like that? So could that be a possibility? Could we explore that avenue? Could we go deeper and then profile him that way, saying that maybe that's something, I don't know. We just know that something deep happened to him. But the what is what's boggling. Like, what happened? That, I don't know. But with him having this many siblings, either I'm feeling like maybe something between him and his sister, some jealousy there, maybe.
I
I
don't
don't
know, because
know.
from the sound of it, he wasn't, like I said, he wasn't very close to his family. Um, but he was supposedly also into like the blood and gore of horror films. But I mean, there's a lot of
Who
people that
isn't?
are like that that aren't killers.
Me, I love it. I don't like romance and stuff like that. I love all that, but I can't kill. And I've had a lot of trauma in my life, a lot of trauma, and I couldn't kill someone.
Yeah.
I don't
So,
even know what happened.
mm,
How close are we on time?
56 minutes. But let me tell you his one of his last quotes. He quote unquote said, "I've always wanted to kill, waiting for the right time, waiting for that silent alarm to trigger me off."
And
In
then
his
it
last
happened.
quote. Dun dun dun.
I mean, but that quote is very fitting and it makes a lot of sense. But what the fuck triggered him? Hmm.
Y'all let us know. Y'all let us know. The comments
We
below.
will, yeah, we will put in the comments his name, check our website, check our YouTube for his name and stuff. We'll go deeper. I do want to say before we log out of the live session, I want to just give my condolences to a dear old high school friend's family. My high school friend Austin Shaw passed away a couple of days before my birthday, and it's unknown why he passed away, what happened, and he requested not to have a service, so no one will get to see him laid to rest. So I do want to send the condolences to his family and everybody that knew him, and just get his name out there,
We're sending some positive vibes to you guys.
positive vibes, and just prayerfully lift his mother up. And in high school, he was a good guy, but after high school, we kind of trailed off. So I really don't know much of his life after high school. But during high school, we were always in the same homeroom. He was either in the front seat or behind me, and we'd always talk. And back then, he always carried a Bible around with him, and he would always, anytime I had a problem, he'd bring out the Bible, even though I'm not a Bible thumper. But then he changed and he left that kind of lifestyle, and I don't know much more after that. But I just miss the friend that I had in high school. So just
Right.
send out the condolences that you can to his family, and lift them up in this time. And with that being said, I'm just going to end this, and tell us what you think about this live. And catch us on all streaming platforms. If you missed any part of this live, you can replay us. Just tell your Echo Dot or Google Home, or search us on any platform. With that being said, Double A signing out.
Bye.